Welcome to the CEO Launch Podcast.
We are a dynamic mother-daughter duo bringing you personality, insights, and practical advice from two different generations of entrepreneurship.
We aren't just mother and daughter. We are also best friends and business partners.
I've watched my mom help thousands of entrepreneurs start the businesses of their dreams, including me. And now it's your turn.
On last week's episode, we discussed parenting as an entrepreneur and what it's like to be the child of one. One thing I think I did not mention last week is how I really can't remember when or if you had a day job. You keep bringing up all these jobs, and I'm just not sure when you worked them.
Really? You don't remember me ever having a job?
Okay, let me tell you what I remember. I remember when we were in Georgia, and I think you used to work off of 78. And honestly, I do remember that you were doing accounting, but because you were doing accounting, I just thought that you went to that office to work. And so I kind of thought that Redacted was your boss, but not your boss. So kind of like Redacted ran the office, but not like you in a sense. Like, I didn't think that was like your supervisor. I thought he just kind of managed that space. I also thought that Redacted 2 and Redacted 3 were more so your friends than they were your coworkers. So I just didn't think that you actually had a job.
So your recollection is hilarious. Because that was actually a job.
Okay, so you work at Redacted accounting firm. Okay. Did not know that. So now I want you, the seasoned entrepreneurial savant, to tell us what it's like to be an entrepreneur and have a day job. Because that's my current situation. I think there are a lot of other entrepreneurs who are aspiring and current who still have a day job. So what was it like for you to be in that employee entrepreneur space, and what were some things that you learned over the years that you did it, however long that was? I don't remember.
In the last episode, we talked about how I left Florida and moved to Atlanta to start over my life and my business. And when I came here, I had a business, but we moved here in September of 2002. 2002. I had 20 tax clients. That was my first year in business. I did 20 tax returns my first year in business. And I had one accounting client. So not nearly enough to support me and a child. Yeah, so I had to get a job. And I was okay with that because, again, like I said in some previous episodes, I've gotten used to sleeping indoors and eating every day. Yes. And so getting a job was not the worst thing ever. And so I got a job. I worked. When I first came to Atlanta, I had money saved up. So for real, honestly, I had about $5,000 saved up.
Okay.
So it was enough money to get me started, get my own place and all of that stuff.
And that's $5,000 in 2002, which with inflation is like $1 million now.
It's so silly. And so I had a job. I worked a job. I worked 40 hours a week for someone else. And I was building my business in the other 20 hours a week. And so one of the things that having a job, and I happened to have a job in the same industry that I was building a business in. And just so that you all know, I made sure my employer knew that I had a business. I was very upfront about that. I wanted to make sure that there were, we didn't have any trust issues. I assured them I'm not going to try to steal your clients. I'm not, any of those kind of things, because I just believe in treating people the way that I want to be treated. And so we had that understanding from the beginning. But one of the things that having a job helped me to realize is the things that I wanted in my business and the things that I didn't want in my business. Because I was working for a firm that was very similar to the firm I was trying to build, I learned real quick, not doing that in my business.
Right.
And I can remember having some ideas and taking those ideas to my boss at the time, and the boss not really being on board with it. So I just thought, I'll just keep my good ideas, for myself and for my business. So for all of the people out there who are job shaming, please stop, because there's nothing wrong with having a job. I had a job for the first 3 years of my business. Well, actually, I worked 40 hours a week for someone else for the first 3 years of my business. And I was building my business in those, other 20 hours that I was working those 60-hour weeks. Then year 4, I was able to flip it. And so I started working part-time for the job, and I was full-time in my business. And then by year 5, I was doing 20 hours at the part-time job and 40 hours in my business. And then by year 5, I was totally full-time, and I completely stopped the part-time business. So
that is an important timeline to hear, because it wasn't that you were 6 months into this business and was ready to go out on your own and figure out all, cover all your expenses, and suddenly this was your entire livelihood. It took you 5 years of, not even just 5 years of being in business. That was just when you got to Atlanta. You had been in business a year before that. So really, since the start of your business, you went from 2000, I'm doing math in my head. You went from, and y'all know I'm not good at math, in my head. You went from 2001 to 2006-ish?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And it took all of those years, all of that time, all of the dedication, sacrifices, and things that we talked about for you to get to a place where you were like, okay, I'm ready to do this on my own. And I think especially as people are talking about, on Instagram, we see somebody in a second, suddenly they're an entrepreneur, they're getting invoices, they're doing this, they're doing that. You're not seeing them that they're like, and not to shame this is not shaming, but like if you're living with a parent or, you don't have the responsibility of
taking care of the household. Yeah.
Taking care of every single thing in your life. Like those are really real realities. So it's just like, we have to be honest about what it actually takes to get to that full-time entrepreneur life. I love that you shared that.
So listen, I want to be clear too that I'm not knocking network marketing or MLM businesses, because that's where I got my start. And so I'm just really disturbed at the notion of, as soon as you sign up with this network marketing company, you're going to be able to quit your job and do your business full time. And it's just not realistic to do that. One of the things that I teach people, and one of the things that I learned very quickly, is when you are depending on your business to live, it's really hard to grow that business. Everything that you make in the business, you got to take it out to pay your bills. And so you don't have the money or the resources to continue to reinvest in your business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I was going to add, you don't have the privilege of kind of creating like your own ideal clientele. Like you can't deny business because you need it for your livelihood. I can't turn away that crappy client because that crappy client is paying the bills. And so I think when you give yourself that time, you really are able to set a standard for yourself and set a standard for your business. But again, it's that time. Things don't happen overnight.
And one of the things that I wanted to point out too about my story is that when I was working full time for the other job, that job was paying my bills. So the money that I brought in my business, that was money that I was able to use to set up my business and really invest in my business. So the first 3 years of my business, I was creating systems and processes and putting all these things into place so that when I transitioned full time, it was a smooth transition. I was ready for those things. I was ready to be able to receive the additional clients and all the referrals that were coming as a result of all of the seeds that I had been planting for those years. And so if you don't allow yourself that opportunity to be able to invest in your business, sometimes you can't. Let's just be real. Like we talked about how sometimes people start businesses out of necessity, and sometimes you don't have the luxury, and I use air quotes, of being able to reinvest in your business, but it just takes longer to grow the business when you have to live on it. So that's kind of my 2 cents when it comes to that. You know, I really can't emphasize it enough about how we have to stop job shaming people who have a business, who are like you, who are dualpreneurs. You have a business and you also have a job, because listen, most of the people who are your clients are probably people with jobs. So stop, you need to stop shaming them, because they're the ones that's keeping your business in business.
Right. And I think there's this piece where it is like we have to stop job shaming. We have to get out of this idea that everybody can be an entrepreneur or should be an entrepreneur, because those aren't real. You know, like everybody doesn't have to be this one thing. And I know for me, where I am right now, I don't want to quit my job. I really enjoy my job. I enjoy my coworkers. I enjoy the work that I get to do. I enjoy the kids that I get to work with. I'm really down for the mission. Like all of those things bring me a happiness and a contentment that I wouldn't necessarily be able to get with Eau Claire. And so with that, it's like, I think something that's important for people to think about as they have their jobs is to think about, what can I actually learn from this job that will help me invest in my business? Because investment isn't always monetary. Your monetary, that consistent income definitely does help grow your business in a lot of different ways, as we're talking about systems and getting into AI and all of those things. However, I also think that the experiences that you get, whether it's something where, you know, you have a coworker that you are just not getting along with and you need to learn that conflict resolution skill on how to work with people that are a little bit different or a little difficult, so that when you have employees 5-10 years down the road, you already know how to deal with these disgruntled situations. Or if it's an experience where you just learn that there are just some things that you don't enjoy, or some things that you wouldn't want to do in your business that your current employer may be doing. Those are all very important lessons, I think. And one more thing for me personally, there are also things that my job does. Like, I think I've mentioned this, I work for a nonprofit and have always worked for nonprofits, but I don't want a nonprofit business. That's not a venture that I'm currently interested in. So being able to kind of live in both worlds works well for me.
You get to do something in the day and something different at night, you know.
Right. And so, you know, I think it's a nice little marriage for me. You know, I can kind of put my toe in a couple different beaches and I feel happy and content about that. So I just think nowadays people have to be honest about, do you actually hate your job, or do you want to be an entrepreneur because you think that you're going to get all of this freedom and all of those things? And freedom in decision making is not as glorious as people may think it is.
You know, a lot of people think, I've had people tell me that I was lucky and, I don't know. I think maybe I make it look easy or something, but entrepreneurship is hard.
It's hard.
Now, I'm not saying this to dissuade anyone from this, because it's also rewarding, but it's not easy. It's not easy. You say a lot of people want to be an entrepreneur because they don't want nobody else telling them what to do. Well, sometimes that's the problem. Like, you don't have anybody else telling you what to do. That means you have to figure it out yourself.
And you have to figure out everything by yourself. The email signature. Yeah, and pay for everything. And there are no days off. You know, like, every single decision. I know for me, like, I definitely have points and times where I'm like, I don't want to make another decision. I do not want to decide. I just don't. Like, I don't want to make another decision, because it's just so much and it's all on you, especially when you're doing it solo. You know, it's like, and you're starting and you're building things and you're thinking about things and you're constantly on. And so that's a hard piece. Like, you want to enjoy certain things, but you're in the middle of a party with your friends and then suddenly you get this idea about this awesome coaching program that you want to do. And it's like, oh, let me go write this down real quick. Or wanting to bring your laptop everywhere because you're like, I just don't know if the moment or the spirit will hit me, or if I'll get this email and things like that. So it's hard to kind of turn that off, and it's hard to separate it, because it's not like your job. You can have hard stops with your job.
Yeah, it's like 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock, I'm out of here.
And we're done. If it didn't get done, it won't. That's not how entrepreneurship works. If it didn't get done, it's not going to get done, and that's going to mess up everything else in the pipeline.
You're not going to get paid. So we're getting close to the end of the episode, but I want to say one last thing, and I want to debunk the myth of overnight success. It is bull, and it is not sustainable. So even when you think about the people who had that one viral video that goes viral, most people aren't even in a position to capitalize on those kind of things. But two, if they are, they don't have a sustainable business in the first place. And so, they're that one-hit wonder, and then that's the end of it. So going from full-time employee to full-time entrepreneurship is something that takes time and it takes planning. So I hope you got something from this episode. We always have fun, so hopefully you feeling like you're having fun with us as well. So listen, meet us here next week, and we're going to be talking about how you need a village to build your business. And if you haven't already, you know the drill. Join our online community, the Efficient CEO Movement on Facebook, where we will continue the conversation and provide tips and advice and encouragement in between episodes.
And follow us on social media at the CEO Launch on all platforms.
And don't forget to take off.
This is a Clear Word production.